Eileen, would you mind just sharing a little bit about your own story, how you grew up and how, in that context, you found your voice?
Or didn't, maybe. So I grew up, I had crossed eyes, I was very shy, I had terrible time speaking. I still struggle with that. When they asked me to do a TED Talk, I said, no way. But someone could interview me, so we'll try that. But because speaking was so difficult, I developed my visual skills. And I was fascinated by fabrics and colors and proportion, and I went into design, and so I ended up being a clothing designer. I actually worked in interior design for a while, but had to give that up because there was too much relationship and speaking and, you know, that kind of thing involved. And with clothing, I could go in and, you know, just kind of, I could see the pictures in my mind. And so that's kind of how I started. I saw the pictures of the clothes and it just started coming to me, and much more complicated than that. But anyway, that's kind of the beginning.
As you found your way through your creativity and design, even as the company was growing, your practice is deepening, sometimes it's hard just to be present in the moment. We find ourselves sort of drifting off or not being in the moment, which often means we're not there for the most important things that matter. Yeah. Would you mind sharing how an embodiment practice helped you stay present in tough times and through things that really mattered in your own relationship, for example, with your husband? Yeah.
Well, I think actually, even back to my childhood story, one of the things that I did, and I came to understand much later, is that I was in a kind of difficult, kind of no-win situation with my mother, who was kind of difficult person, and so I would just shut down, and that's part of how I went into my own world. So that became my sort of habit in life, to just shut down. Over the years, I did many different kinds of practices. I've been meditating for years and doing yoga and things of that nature. But I think it was around 3 years ago or so that I got introduced to this somatic experiencing work. It's kind of a trauma-based work, and I watched this DVD and followed along and did this exercise where I won't go into what the exercise was, it's a little complicated, but it had to do with working on a trigger in a relationship for me. Like, I had been married and divorced, a very difficult divorce. Communication was a problem. And so I used my ex-husband, because one of the things that would happen is the same as with my mother. When I was a child, I would shut down. And so whenever, you know, I'd be trying to deal with my husband around our children or organizing things, you know, just the sound of his voice would shut me down. And I mean, this was literally still happening almost 3 years ago, where there was no reason anymore for me to hear his voice on the phone and freeze. So I did this exercise, and what happened I didn't expect is that all of a sudden, when I saw him 2 days later, I was talking, like completely alive and opened up, and you know, even both of my kids said, "Mom, you were different." I said, "What was different about me?" "Well, you were talking, and you never talk around Dad." And it was, you know, so something had happened, and so I was very fascinated about what is this thing that's going on in my body that I can actually unhook a trigger and open myself up. So I just became very fascinated to follow these kind of embodiment practices and to try to understand what opens me up and why do I shut down. You know, so I studied a lot about fear and you know, and I still work with a somatic therapist every week, and so what I realize is that our bodies hold so much information. Like, we live in our heads, and you know, every day, every minute, we're getting messages about, you know, like that we're shutting down or like tensing up. What is that about? Every time we, close down, we find tension in our neck or our shoulders. We're just shutting off some of the energy going to our brain, and we're less free and less open and less creative. So what can we do about that is the question. I started, exploring more and studying different teachers and trying to understand what is this, what is this that's happening to me, and how can I show up more fully. So part of it started so I'd been meditating, but because my pattern as a child was to shut down, meditation for me almost sometimes kind of helped me shut down. It was kind of a pleasant state where I could just kind of sometimes zone out, which I know is not officially meditating. But for me, I would go like, whoa, 15 minutes, where did I go? Where was I? Was that meditating? Or did I just space out, So, sort of finding my way into my body and starting to explore what was actually going on inside, And I would begin to notice, the feelings of anxiety or my heart beating faster, So I would notice when I was triggered. And so when I talked about my ex-husband and that sound of his voice, it was like my energy was captured and I was not able to be present for the conversation. And so I realized that I could actually notice and that I could actually make a different choice. I could say, oh, there's that triggered feeling. There I am talking fast. I'm caught in this thing. I'm not really where I want to be. I'm not really saying what I want to say because I'm caught in my anger or frustration or my energy spin around this person that's disturbing me. But I could actually choose. I could say, wait a minute, do I really want to stay there, caught in that, or can I bring myself back? I can't always bring myself back, but it's starting by the more I notice, the more I can kind of cut that cord and get free and show up more. So I'm going off.
That's perfect.
Am I going down the rabbit hole? Am I doing that thing? No,
and
sorry.
how has that attunement come to life for you in the context of work? So we all feel sometimes fear at work.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get stuck. Sometimes we're in dynamics that are tough.
Yeah.
How have you tried to bring somatic practice actually into the context of the work environment?
Yeah. We have this amazing coach. His name is Marcelo. We bring him up from Brazil once a month for a week every month, because he's so amazing. And what he does is this somatic work. He comes right into the leadership team, and he invites us to stop and notice what we're feeling. And the more we've been doing that, the more we are recognizing where we're not showing up, or where we're not fully expressing what's going on for us. So he invites us to talk about the things that are difficult, and so that can take us to the relationship piece. But I want to kind of stay with this. Mm-hmm. I keep thinking about my husband again, and thinking about, wow, I can work with my husband. I can work with anyone, and so what I'm realizing is bringing that. It's pretty subtle. So what I'm practicing and I'm noticing is, so I'm thinking about meditation now. I'm jumping around a little, but it's connected. So my current practice now is I want to bring meditation into those moments in relationship every day and in my meetings. And so one of the things that I struggle with is listening. And so I'm using meditation as I'm using listening as a meditation practice. So, when someone speaks, I am trying to pay attention in a way that's fully present, which is actually opening a lot of possibilities. Like, I want to tell one example. We were interviewing for, the company's going through this kind of massive sort of transformation, and we are realizing that we have to bring in some outside talent. And so we were interviewing chief marketing officers. We've not really had one of those, which is probably why lots of people don't fully know our story. And it came clear through some of our work that we really needed to get our story out there more. But when interviewing this person, I watched myself not listen. And, you know, incredibly talented candidate with wonderful resume, but as I was talking to her, she was so smart. She talked so fast. She was just so full of experience and information that, man, I just kind of collapsed right into myself. And I was like, I don't think I'll be able to work with her. She's, you know, she'll definitely overshadow me, or I don't know if I went that far with the thought, but, you know, so then I, you know, toward the end of the interview, I went, oh my God, I missed what she said. I just missed her. And then, you know, instead of doing what I might have done in the past, go like, no, not my type, not for me, or something like that, even though she kind of was my type, I said, I think maybe we need to see her again. And so I gave her another chance. And this time, I practiced listening. And in the listening, I realized, whoa, she is smart. If we don't hire her, we're going to miss something amazing. So we went and hired her, and she's been with us for 90 days, and I think you're going to see a breakthrough.
Wonderful.
Coming soon in our story and what we're going to be getting out there.
So cultivating presence then allows us to be in the moment for a sense of purpose. How do we harness that presence in service? And I'd love to hear how you have been cultivating your purpose, and perhaps share the moment where you found in your chair and the opportunity to choose a path for the company.
Yes, okay, great. Okay, so purpose is such a great conversation because purpose, I think, helps us to know when we're being distracted or we're operating in some kind of rote or robotic way, and it helps to kind of align us. So the first part of the purpose work is just to begin to start to ask ourselves, why? Why am I doing this? Like, why do we have to grow the company so fast? Why do we have to open, I don't know, 4 or 5 new stores every year? Or why do we have to do this or this? But I want to come back to the idea of purpose as a journey. So purpose isn't something where like I ask myself why and I go like, oh right, I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to be a clothing designer and I'm supposed to change the fashion industry and, you know, all of that. But it's more, I'm supposed to find my path. I'm supposed to be uniquely me. I'm supposed to show up fully me. So the process of learning about purpose is really a process of noticing. And so for me, we brought in again Marcelo because he does amazing purpose work, which we're actually going to we're offering to the public too, which is interesting. But so he did these incredible exercises with us to help us feel into purpose. And so we did this exercise where we moved and sat in another chair and we imagined that we were our purpose. And we were talking to ourselves and getting mad about why aren't you listening to me and things like that. And so after that, I decided to establish my own purpose chair. So at home, I sit in my purpose chair every morning and ask myself what matters. What do I need to do today? And it might be something really simple like go to that meeting or make that phone call or make sure I connect with that person. And or it might be just a simple message of show up with love. So it comes to me differently every day. But one day, I sat in my purpose chair And I was really tired. I had been to 2 back-to-back conferences, and the company was doing a conference on sustainability, and this was about 3 years ago. And so I had promised that I would show up just to kind of bless the work, that I wouldn't get into the weeds on it. I would just show up and say, great, it's good that everybody's doing this work. But I sat in my purpose chair, and I had this like sense of energy of like, oh my God. I was like, I can feel it now. This sense that, whoa, this is really important. It's just like I came alive with this sense of purpose. And I went upstairs and packed my bag for 4 days. I went to the conference, and it was our own internal team, about 25 people across the company, designers and salespeople and merchandisers and other people from across the company, social consciousness and sustainability people. And we did amazing 4 days of work. All the kinds of, laid out all the plans of the different materials and processes and things we needed to look at and how we were going to map and measure all the work we were doing. And at the end, it came clear that we needed to make a commitment that we would become a 100% sustainable company. And I remember thinking, I have to say yes to this. And so I stood up and I said, yes, we have to do this. And I realized what I said earlier when you asked me about my voice, that my voice mattered. This was my unique place to say yes. And so I always thought of myself as kind of leading on the side and nurturing the whole and all those things. But this was a moment to step in and say, wow, my choice is power. I can make a difference here. So doing that, my social consciousness director says that was actually a turning point for the company. And I don't want to take credit because I didn't do the hard work out there every day, really changing the way we work. And, the designers are deeply committed, the product development people, the sales people, the advertising, the whole team. It's so embedded now, this sustainability work. We now have a vision we call 2020, our vision 2020, and the work now, we just recently did a whole ambassador training because so many people in the company are so lit up with purpose around this work that they want to take it out and spread what we're doing and share it and draw in the other fashion companies and figure out how we can change the world. But what's so interesting to me is that it isn't about changing the world out there. It's about how we show up. It's about, that sort of moment to moment, sitting in that purpose chair, noticing if I should be in this call or I should speak up with my husband or in this meeting or I should hire this person. It's all those little moment-to-moment choices where we need to let go of those things that trigger us and distract us and confuse us and keep centering ourselves to what is our unique voice or gift in that exact moment.
Amen to that. So it's such a... Thank you. Thank you, Eileen, for your generosity, for your lived and earned wisdom. And just as we conclude this conversation, I'd like to share a quote from the modern dancer, Martha Graham. There is a vitality, a life force, an energy, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And because there is only one you in all time, this expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium. The world will not have it. It is not your business to determine how good it is or how valuable, nor how it compares with others' expressions. It is your business to keep it yours clearly and directly. You do not have to believe in yourself or your work. You have to keep open and aware directly to the urges that motivate you. Keep the channel open.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you.